There is no group of Jewish Christians who denied the resurrection in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century.
Okay, fine.
That's a good myth you just created. Let's not start making up false history.
Call them the
Fake
Jews living
news.
next to us. Call them the Jews
Fake
living
news,
next to
sir.
us.
Not acceptable.
Jesus of Nazareth is widely accepted as a real historical figure, but one claim divides history more than any other. This student argues there is no meaningful evidence that Jesus rose from the dead, only written claims passed down by believers. If the resurrection is the foundation of Christianity, does history actually support it? Cliffe and Stuart respond by challenging the idea that a movement could transform the ancient world without something extraordinary at its center. Was the resurrection a legend, born from grief, or an event that changed history?
No question, really, historically, about the attestation of Jesus Christ existing as a historical figure. However, the evidence that he rose from the dead is nothing. It's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless.
Wait, you just said you got to make your point again. So he
you
did
cited
exist?
the
You just said there's no evidence that he did exist.
You cited the Talmud, which I'm familiar with, and other contemporaries. And while there is evidence, of course, that he existed as a historical person.
Okay, good, because you didn't say that.
There is, I believe I did, but anyways, there is, I'm pretty sure that was my entire exposition.
Go ahead.
You said that there's evidence that he rose from the dead, and that it's written about how, an author wrote about how 500 people saw him rise from the dead. What about the plethora of Jewish scholars and rabbis surrounding him, all in that general vicinity, who could have spoken to all these extant people who witnessed this miracle, this rising from the dead, who didn't convert to Christianity?
Talk about a theory, baby. Talk about a theory that you just made. Go get me those manuscripts and those authors, and I'll believe you. But here, let me help your point. Let me help your point. Let me help your point right now. I'm going to jump on your side. Let me help you. Jerome and Nero, they're back and forth in the ancient manuscripts we have. You're right. They said it didn't happen. So let me help you. They actually said these Christians believe in witchcraft. They believe in this ridiculousness that he actually rose from the dead. So we can at least establish that they did believe that. Now, you need to answer me. Here's one of the biggest pieces of evidence for it. Because we can go, oh my gosh, you and I can sit down and talk about this for an hour. But I'm going to give you one of the biggest pieces of evidence and then come back to me and tell me how in the world did this happen. How did the early church start that exponentially grew from 1,000 to 5,000 and then took over 2/3 of the Roman Empire before Constantine, well before 325? How did that occur? How did they pull this off?
I'll tell you precisely why that occurred.
Okay, good.
At that time in history, it was a very troubling time for the Roman Empire, fighting the Sassanids. And the area in the Levant was very impoverished and war-stricken. Jesus Christ offered a different message, or his disciples offered different messages than the religions at the time. It was very reassuring to a people who had been oppressed and who had been marginalized. There was a ripe opportunity for such a belief system to spread like wildfire through a group of people who were receptive to it because of their grief. That's the wonderful thing that religion offers that atheism doesn't offer to many people.
Beautiful.
That's why it existed. Saying that it's because, the single supernatural event in history is the reason to explain all of religion spreading quickly is an extreme leap. And I'm sorry, but I want to go back to your discussion of the multiverse and misquoting other.
Finish your point here.
Because you're going to take 20 minutes to respond.
No, I'll give you 2 quick points. I'll give you 30 seconds. I think you're getting lost in your own argument. That's why you don't want me to respond.
I don't believe so. Okay, fine, respond, and then let me come back to the other point.
There we go. So you talked about this bereavement.
Yes.
Well, okay, so hallucinations after a religious figure died. Hallucinations occur with one person. You talk to any academic you would like. Over 500 people hallucinating at one time because of bereavement that the religious figure died has never ever happened, and it's impossible to happen. Secondly, that is, it's narrow-minded of you to think that 2/3 of the Roman Empire at the time that became Christian, that all of these Jews were, say for example, simply poor and needed this because of the Roman Empire. You're right, I was in Rome this past summer, and certainly a big part of the Christian faith spread through the poor, absolutely. But a large portion of the intelligentsia, he named some earlier, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, also were Christian. So they had everything to lose by becoming Christian. Why would they do that? They didn't have anything to gain. And you said they had a lot to gain. And so I'm flummoxed by that.
I didn't say they had a lot to gain. I want to directly address both of those points. As far as the conversion, by the way, 2/3 of the Roman Empire before Constantine converting, I just have to look back at that fact. I don't believe that that's the case.
Go look it up and bring it out.
But
tomorrow's our last day.
Okay, great. The other point you made, could you restate it again? It was
hallucinations?
Hallucinations, yes. We don't have there still is not actually evidence that 500 people did see him. There's evidence that someone wrote that 500 people did see him. That is the sum total of the actual evidence that you have to claim. And this goes back to what you said yesterday about the Bible as a historical document. The Bible is... You're right that there are slim attestations of things that we accept as historical fact in history. But the difference is that they're plausible. The Bible is claiming the single supernatural event in history, and your only burden of evidence is a document which is a singular
over 5,800 documents. You're right.
That claim what?
Over 5,800.
Yes.
Based off of the Orthodox belief that all trace back to the eyewitnesses who gave it in 100. I didn't state this yesterday. 115 A.D. All the church fathers got it. That became the church universal and the understanding of what was put in to these Greek manuscripts. They agreed with each other. If you would like to go look them up, that's another piece of homework. Go look them up and tell me, is there internal consistency in them? And if they're all disparate and there's not, I'll hop over to your position. Or at least grant that there's a lot of legitimacy to it.
Okay, well, like we said yesterday, one of the early schisms, like in the church, I'm talking about pre-Orthodox, I'm talking about very early, was whether or not Jesus even was resurrected. There was a question about that. There were people who considered themselves Christians or disciples of Christ who said, I think that he was a great teacher, but I'm still basically a Jew, and I believe in just that he wasn't the Son of God. That was in a very early formulation of Christianity. That was a valid position.
Called what?
Some people argued.
Called what?
I don't remember the name.
That's unfortunate because that group did not exist.
But
there is no group of Jewish Christians who denied the resurrection in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century.
Okay, fine.
That's a good myth you just created.
Let's not call them Christians. Let's call them all the Jews.
No, they didn't deny the resurrection, sir. If anybody called himself a Christian in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, they held tightly to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So let's not start making up false history.
Call them the
Fake
Jews living
news.
next to us. Call them the Jews
Fake
living
news,
in
sir.
Africa.
Not acceptable.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
And then let's go on to your theories about the existence of the universe and why it exists.
Yes.
Your entire theory, the sum total of your theory for why something exists, is let's invent another equally improbable idea that there's a God who could create everything, and write off the rest of history as, well, history.
You do not
That's
listen
the
well.
whole-
I have stood
that's
out
the
here
sum total.
repeatedly and talked about a beaver's dam pointing to a beaver. How the Golden Gate Bridge points not to a beaver, it points to a much more intelligent mind, a human mind, to create the Golden Gate Bridge. And then you move from the Golden Gate Bridge to the human eye, the human central nervous system. We're using the argument of design to point to a designer. In the same way designer genes point to a designer, so the design of your eye, your central nervous system, the laws of nature point to an intelligent mind. Simple, watertight argument, doesn't prove anything, but it's a weighty piece of evidence that behind the order and design of this universe, there's an intelligent mind, some type of God. That's simple.
Intelligent design is one of the most egregious claims that creationists make. What you just said, well, okay, whatever you call yourself.
Don't mislabel us then. Listen to us and take us as unique individuals,
believe in intelligent
not
design,
people who
yes,
fit into your little
intelligent
stereotypes
design.
and your
Intelligent
myth,
design.
okay?
Intelligent design, not evolution. Correct?
Is yours a faith position?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, baloney.
So you've
You
tested
got
it
just
in
as much faith as I do.
You've tested the beginning of time and
You
a
got
test
more
tube.
faith than I do.
I know exactly what you're getting at. You're getting at that my belief in science is equivalent to your faith in...
No, that's not my point.
Okay.
My point is you can never
that's
go
not
on a
exactly what
scientific
we're
date.
getting. So much certainty.
You don't have one relationship that you treasure so highly that you can prove scientifically.
Science is not a
You are
body
getting
of
wrapped
facts.
up in
It is
science.
a
It's
process.
very sad.
It is a process.
You've got to learn by observation that a lot of your life has a lot more to do than with science. You've got to learn that trusting a human being has nothing to do with math, it has nothing to do with biology, it has nothing to do with chemistry or physics. It has all to do with learning to love a person and to trust a person. And for you to consistently come back to science is very sad because it shows a very narrow view of reality.
It's actually an extremely broad
Get bigger.
Yes.
Of course God works through science, and he works through mathematics, and he works through history.
Science. You're bringing in philosophy as well as science. What philosophy? We're talking about origin right here. You're talking about origin. That's a philosophical, metaphysical question.
No,
Then
what
you
I'm
brought in
saying is
process.
that-
Process is science, absolutely. But then you got to come to the end game and figure out, okay, what's the deal here based off of my theories? Theories are faith positions.
No.
Theories
No.
come
There's a critical
largely
difference.
based off of faith. Why do they change? Every
that is the
year.
most egregious
Exactly,
thing that
because you
guys
cannot
have.
prove.
That's the most
You cannot prove it.
about how, specifically Richard Dawkins explains how something as crazy complicated as the eye could have been created through the same methods that Charles Darwin described.
All right, it's real simple. Thanks for bringing him up. Richard Dawkins
Was trained as a preacher, yes?
You finished? Richard Dawkins is a brilliant scientist. He's a very average philosopher. And I would encourage you to listen to the debates between Richard Dawkins and William Lane Craig. William Lane Craig eats Dawkins' lunch, as does Jordan Peterson. Both of them, philosophically, turn the guy inside out. Scientifically, Richard Dawkins is brilliant. No question about that. He's a brilliant scientist, but what you got to realize is there's a difference between science and philosophy, between science and logic. That's why you've got a philosophy department here
That's an
and a
artificial
science
construction.
department.
I want to answer his question. Humans created.
Wait. Hold on one second. I want to approach Dawkins since we were talking about intelligent design and Dawkins.
Dawkins
believes. Hold on, just one second. Dawkins. I know, but you went to Dawkins as like your authoritative source.
All right,
Do you know what Dawkins believes? How humanity started? Do you know what he believes?
I'm not certain exactly what he believes.
Aliens.
Yes.
Aliens traveled here, landed, and then populated the place by having sex with each other.
I'm familiar with that theory.
Okay, so let's drop Dawkins like a lead balloon.
I don't recognize any one God. I don't follow any one religion, but I believe in the possibility that kind of the truth of the universe or being a higher being is something that is yet to be discovered or is something that we can't even know as humans. That's just my personal belief. That's what being agnostic means to me.
So it means you don't know.
It means I don't know, and I'm okay with saying I don't know.
Good.
About it. Like, is it like permanent, or like do you plan to like believe in eventually like, figure something out?
Right now, I feel like it's permanent, just because I feel like the universe is so much bigger than like humans that it's impossible for us to, I don't know, conceive like what the creator of the universe is. So it's possible. There is something. It's possible. There's nothing, but I don't honestly expect to ever find it out.
Okay. Now, I respect you, but I'm going to try and point out to you that agnosticism is impossible. Here's why. I can say, I don't know whether God exists or not. But due to the ethical decisions that I have to make every day, that you have to make every day, the ethical decisions that we make will show whether we believe in God or not. For instance, why do you value another person?
Because they are another human being and I don't want to hurt them.
What's wrong with hurting another human being? And who defines hurt?
Again, that's a hard thing. I don't know how you define things like hurt, but to me it's just something that I believe is morally wrong.
Okay, but see, man, you can't be agnostic. You have to make a decision every day. How do I treat this person? What does it mean to hurt them? What does it mean to respect them? What does it look like practically? You got to decide. Are you going to cheat on an exam or not? You have to decide. See, life doesn't let you say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I should be racist or not. I don't know if I should be sexist or not.
That's what I'm saying when I say I don't know. That's me saying I believe in doing moral things that do align with many religions' moral beliefs, but that doesn't mean, I'm not saying I don't know about morals. I'm just saying I don't know about a higher being, but that doesn't mean that I can't follow morals for moral's sake.
Sorry, so I've miscommunicated. I'm sorry. My point was not everything is black and white. I think there's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of ethical gray. My point was simply this. Every day, every one of you has, including me, has to make decisions that are ethical. And the ethical decisions that you make tattles what you believe about reality. It's that simple. That's all I'm saying. The ethical decisions, whatever they are, show that you're not really agnostic. It means, I believe this about you. This is why I treat you the way I do. Okay, well, obviously you got to ask, well, why do I believe that he has value? Or why do I believe he's a piece of dirt? You see, the way I answer that question will show I'm not agnostic. I'm believing something that's very crucial. You see, it's very simple. The questions, why are people valuable? Is there a purpose to life? What are your ethics and why do you embrace those ethics? And what do you do with death? Every single one of us has to answer those questions. Is a human being valuable? If so, why? Is there a purpose to life? If so, what is it? Who created it? What are ethics? Why do you make the ethical decisions you do? I obviously don't know the ethical decisions you make, right? Okay? So it's not an attack on you, right? Okay, well, some people don't, ma'am. I'm getting really frustrated with some students out here who think that it's all attacking. It's a simple issue of you got to make decisions, ethical decisions, and fourthly, you got to go to funerals. Grandma and grandpa are going to die. Mom and dad are going to die, okay? Now, when you're at a funeral, you got to be thinking through the question, is there life after death or not? And how you answer that question shows whether you believe there's a supernatural God or whether, bottom line is, there's no supernatural God. Bye-bye. I will never see you again. See, we got to make those decisions. That's why I think it's impossible to be agnostic. I mean, I can sit back and say, well, I really don't know if God exists. But when I'm sitting at the funeral, ma'am, I've got to be...
I mean, I have sat at funerals, but that's not something that I think about. Being at funerals doesn't make me think, yes, like my grandfather, for example, is in heaven or hell. That's not what I'm thinking about.
Okay, are you ever asking yourself, am I going to see Grandpa again?
Yes, but then I come to the conclusion that, I don't know, maybe not.
Okay, but maybe yes, right?
Maybe yes, but also maybe not. And I feel like they're both equal possibilities, or I don't know how to measure possibilities, but they're still both valid possibilities.
Okay, they're both valid possibilities, but then you've got to decide, do I have hope for the future that I might see Grandpa or not?
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.